Many times after a massive shift, an internal shift in consciousness, a big spiritual breakthrough, sometimes people even call it a timeline shift. A lot of times this big experience sort of kind of fades away. And you look around and you realize your life hasn't changed all that much. The magic, the resonance, the connection that you felt recently is gone, just like this distant memory. And here you are back in your life as if nothing happened. Sometimes things even seem to get worse. They start breaking down. You're doing more healing work. You're running into like resistance. You feel confused. You feel off. If you relate to that, chances are you've already made the shift. And there's absolutely nothing at all wrong here. And it's in the mail. You're well on your way. And what this video is going to do is going to go into a lot more detail of what it is like, the dip, the reset, if you will, that happens after the shift you've already made. Number one, the strange neutral zone. It's like a recalibration that happens after a big shift. This happens all the time. You know, one of the things I do is I run ayahuasca retreats. I don't pour the medicine, but I organize them and I host them with my wife. And, you know, people, they come and they drink ayahuasca 3 nights in a row, and they have like profound, deep, amazing, earth-shattering breakthroughs. And then a very common thing is they go home, and sometimes that pink cloud or that fire and that vibe will remain for a while. But at some point, there's this dip where you feel kind of blah, melancholy, joyless. Not only are you not feeling the intense excitement, but you feel like a lack of excitement, a lack of joy. And things that used to even excite you, maybe even like, you know, playing with your certain hobbies, or it just doesn't do it for you. You just feel kind of like almost like numb, like you overdid it somehow with dopamine, and now you're like in like a depletion. And that's like in your mood, but also in your life. Your life can seem stagnant. You know, after a big breakthrough, after a big timeline shift, it can feel like life is moving forward finally, and you love where you're heading, and it's great, and things are snowballing, and yeah, and it just sort of wears off. What happened? There's no more clarity. There's no more evidence that you're making any progress at all. You're just stagnant, like stagnant water, just festering, feeling off, feeling like cynical, and you might find yourself even aligning with, like, for sometimes the weather will mirror this for me, where I'll be going through this and it'll be cloudy every freaking day, and it's like, what gives? You just feel like you can't escape this dull, melancholy energy and stagnancy. It's okay. It's necessary. It's like it's a recalibration. We need this. You know what comes to mind is when I first started learning guitar, I saw this YouTube video where this guy, Justin Guitar, real cool guy if you're into guitar, he's a good teacher. He recommended this hack for learning faster. He said, after you practice, you know, whatever, instead of just moving on to the next thing, give yourself like 1 full minute of silence, where you're just sitting there not playing, just holding your guitar. And he said, because the brain, given space, will assimilate. It'll start forming connections and kind of solidifying what you just learned. Rather than rushing to the next thing, it's like it doesn't stick. Your higher self, your life, your soul, it wants this to stick. This is what it means to have your big breakthrough, your big shift sticking. Starting to slowly like weave itself into your character, your attitude, realigning you with this new timeline. It doesn't happen overnight. You know, we live on Earth, we live in like 3D, and you know, I could drop these dorky looking glasses on the floor, and as fast as that is, it still takes time to get there. Bad analogy, because what I'm talking about takes a lot longer than that. If it were that easy, I'd be content with that, and I know you would be as well. It's not like that. It's like this thing just freaking sticks there for a while. Slowly, it's moving so slowly you can't even see it. But eventually you wake up and it's there on the ground. You're like, okay, thank God. Gravity finally took hold. It's like that, my friend. But the important thing is to not like worry so much. I used to worry and think like, where did it go? How do I get that feeling back? Maybe I need to do more meditation. Maybe I have to go drink an ayahuasca some more. Maybe I'm being lazy and complacent. How do I get motivated? Maybe I'll join the gym. It's like, no, 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 settle down, Vic. Simmer down. Just understand it's assimilating. We're recalibrating. There's no problem here. It's just how it works. Another really interesting thing happens. You find yourself unmotivated. Now you know. Now you know chasing things, chasing status, chasing money, chasing material accumulation, chasing whatever it's like this sort of like need to become a bigger version of yourself is seen for what it is. You felt something pure at some point. You know there's like a divine reality and you may have glimpsed it. And you realize that you're not going to get back there by doing all the other things you once did. And this can show up, you know, people where they just feel off, they feel unmotivated. Like, you know what, I just don't have the drive anymore. Yeah, and you might feel lazy and stagnant. And then you might feel kind of shameful and down on yourself because everybody else seems to be going at it. No one else seems as unmotivated as I do. But really what it is you've just seen through that whole game and have decided you don't want to play it anymore. But the new game is like, it's a new game. You're not good at it. You don't even know what the hell it is necessarily. All you know is you don't want to play that game because you see through it. You know, I'm fortunate because in like the last 10 years, attained beyond what I thought I needed to feel good, content, accomplished, successful, whatever. And there was this interesting story I have where at the very beginning of my spiritual journey, when I first started waking up, my wife and I found these tarot cards. And they were like a gift given to me from years back. I wasn't into tarot, nothing like that. But now that I was like sort of into spirituality, I was like, oh, cool, tarot cards. I would play around with them and my wife and I would give each other readings. And it was so crazy how like spot on these cards were. I was blown away. And there was this one time my wife and I did like a joint reading and we flipped up this card and it was like the judgment card. It's like the best card. It's like a completion card. It's like one of the higher arcana cards. And as this card flipped up, we had this shared vision, which we don't get visions often, just so you know. We had this shared vision though at this time of our future. And we both had the same vision and we discussed it like moments later. And the vision was us on the mountains with a much larger family, more kids, smiling, happy. And it was this very particular color of mountains, which was interesting because by that point I had never traveled outside of like Florida and Michigan. I didn't never seen like the Red Rock Mountains, and all I thought it was like the Rocky Mountains with the snow and anyways, the point is it was like this weird mountain scene I've never seen before. And we thought, wow, did you feel that? And we talked about it. It was this crazy thing, you know? And then it kind of like, of course, we forgot about it. And it was like maybe 10 years later. I was living in Las Vegas and we had just moved there. I was driving around looking for a place to film a YouTube video. And I was just so looking around because Vegas is like this sort of concrete jungle surrounded by beautiful and expansive, awesome mountains, at least in my opinion. And I was more there for the mountains. And I was driving around just sort of grateful for all these cool mountains. And I decided one day when I was driving to just go to them. I wanted to go and climb them. And I did. I parked at what I thought was like the closest mountain, which turns out was like a mile from the freaking road to look closer. I just parked over on the side of the road. I got my little backpack and my camera gear and I headed out in the hot Vegas sun to climb this mountain that I saw in sight. And I did. I made it to Calico Basin, if you know that. There are like these big boulders. And I made it to Calico Basin and I climbed up on this huge boulder and I looked around and I realized that this is what I saw in my vision. By that time, we had 3 children. It was like, this is it. I literally have somehow manifested or made it to where I wanted to get. I was living an amazing life. I was abundant, happy. My YouTube channel was crushing it. I was free. Kids were healthy. You know, I had nothing more I could want for. And I just had this moment of triumph where like, you know what? It's been a long journey. A lot of healing, a lot of twists and turns, unexpected challenges and pitfalls. But nonetheless, here I am in this moment. I have realized the vision. I'm on the mountains right here. And I just sort of bask in this glory that lasted a period of about 1 to 2 minutes. And then I realized, okay, well, I got kind of bored. I said, well, okay, well, what now? And I looked over and I saw another boulder and I said, okay, I'm going to climb up on that boulder because I bet the view's even more spectacular once I arrived there. Sure enough, it was. I got up there and it was a really cool view and I was like, wow, yeah, now I've accomplished the vision, and I did this over and over and over, getting onto another boulder, loving it for about 5 minutes, getting bored, grabbing my gear, going back up, and I finally made it to the top of the mountain. And when you get to the top of this Calico Basin I'm referring to, any of you who've been there know this, then you get to see over into Red Rock National Park. These were like mountains on a whole new level, baby. These were like, oh my God, now I've made it, right? No, because what happens then? Then I look over and see other mountains to climb. It's never ending. There's nowhere to get. This hyped up future scenario, it's very, 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 very fleeting. And you are starting to see that. You're starting to see that in your own way, that, you know what, I could hustle, I could grind and climb the corporate ladder one more notch, but I just don't feel inspired to do that because I know it's not going to do it for me. Now you have deeper yearnings, a more sophisticated arrangement of your priorities and values. But nonetheless, you haven't yet clarified quite exactly how to approach this fundamental shift in your mindset. So there you sit, idle, not doing what you used to do, not doing what you're going to do, not knowing what you don't want, but not what you want exactly or how to get it. And you're just kind of like feeling it. But these big shifts, they take time. It's important to give yourself time to be okay with not knowing, be okay with the inaction. I don't do well. I like to do stuff personally. I get kind of antsy myself. I'm not a master at this, but I've learned that there's a strong knowing that now is the time to just be. And that's it. It's all going to be fine. You might also find yourself just naturally having like a social reset. It's kind of like what I was saying before, but also with like people and relationships. And you might start kind of also seeing differently what used to be your common everyday, interactions with people. And it's not that anyone's bad or you're more evolved. It's more like you just feel like more quiet. My wife's been going through this. She lost her brother recently, about 2 years ago actually. But it was a very, very hard thing for her. It was very unexpected. But after that, she went through this big transformation where she really reconnected with like spirit in a very profound way, and she had a lot of these big inner timeline shifts, if you will. But I noticed that after that, she would just spend a lot of time kind of just alone. And at first I'd be like, what's wrong? Everything okay? She's like, no, I'm just sitting. Neither depressed nor excited, just kind of just sitting calmly, is the way I would put it. And I realized she was assimilating. She was assimilating, sort of like grounding in this new outlook that this experience sort of gave her. But on the surface, both to the observer and also the individual, the outlooker and the individual, it's, at first I was like, what's wrong? Fortunately, she's married to, we get it sort of. So I was like, okay, I got it. And I didn't like pry and say, okay, come hang out with me or anything. And luckily for her, she realized she wasn't fighting it, forcing herself to go out and get on the phone with her friends and stuff. She was honoring it. And it's okay to do that. But you might have people in your life who don't get it. They don't understand the transformation process. We're learning ourselves. Who's no judgment here. But people might say, you've changed. What's the matter with you? How come you don't come out tomorrow? I'm not good enough for you? That kind of vibe. And then you might feel guilted into well, maybe I am being a bad friend. Maybe this and that. It's like, no. It's okay. I would recommend looking at like a big internal shift, even though it's kind of in a sense invisible. It's almost like getting like, having like a surgery or something where like you don't just go back to the gym the next day. The tissue's got to heal. It has to heal. And even though everything looks fine, maybe the where the incision was, that's healed, but your elbow is not ready to go doing bicep curls. It's like the ligaments, the tendons, all those things, they have to kind of slowly, slowly, slowly strengthen themselves. I just say this to you in case you're like either beating yourself up, thinking there's something wrong, or you're dealing with guff from your people in your life. I recommend to like be firm and to know yourself and to give yourself the time. Because if you don't, it's going to be like going to the gym prematurely. Not saying you're going to injure yourself, obviously, but you're missing out on like the fullness of what's happening within you right now. It also might feel confusing. You might just feel genuinely confused. Like, I kind of get what you're saying, Vic, but I gotta tell you, buddy, it is hard to trust that something's allegedly happening because I have no evidence to speak of. There's nothing. There's no confirmations, even no synchronicities, no tangible evidence that anything is quote unquote shifted and that good things are on the horizon coming toward me very quickly. I have no evidence of that. And so it can make you start to question, was that even a shift at all? Am I just sort of like sabotaging myself? Am I convincing myself there was this crazy shift so that I can sort of justify sitting around doing nothing, not socializing, not pursuing anything? Is this some kind of roundabout self-sabotage, sneaky maneuver, my ego, just to get me like to stick around and stay still? And you might really think that because there are ramifications of like doing nothing. You don't go out anymore, people are going to wonder. You stop pursuing things that you used to pursue, and you really feel bored. So it's understandable why you would question that, but the bottom line is it's just a phase you got to go through, basically, is what I've concluded. I don't know why. It's like this necessary phase. And what I found is that things, once they do pick up, and they will, it's usually fast and not overwhelming, but like, whoa. One day you're bored and wondering what the hell's going on with your life and where you're going and things like that. And the next day, like one little thing shifts and you're like, okay, I got a lot of work to do now. Like fun work, labors of love, things that are connected to your future and your true self. So I recommend enjoying it. Like take the time, because it's not going to last. And there'll become a time when you are wishing things were more chill. I kind of been going through this myself. It's like over the holidays, I've been going through a big shift in my life with my business and things like that. And it was like all of a sudden, I went for like maybe 6 weeks of not really having to do that much. I make the videos like you see here, but like in my full-time purpose business, there was not much going on. And now there is. now there's like a lot to do. And it was just yesterday, in fact, where I was like, wow, okay. Okay, this is kind of what I wanted. This is what I asked for. But now I got a lot to do. And now I got to manage my time and manage my energy and things like that. So, and I'm not complaining, but the point is like, that's going to happen to you in your own way. You're going to get some type of clarity, and then you're going to get some type of action step, and your next step will be revealed. And then it will require a lot of time and energy and sacrifice maybe, and change and transformation. And you'll be back at the races in no time. I promise you. But in the meantime, just use it as an opportunity, which is what I choose to do as best I can, to just have faith. To have faith. And during these times, even though I sort of, share information about them, I don't navigate them perfectly by any means. And I get very anxious when nothing's happening. I really do. I don't, it's a personal challenge of mine. But what is nice about them is because, like you, I kind of know enough not to force things. That's proven to not work. And then, so there's really no options but to just sit with it and wait and patiently trust. So what I will oftentimes do is I will do a lot of like meditation and like conscious, I'll be like deliberate in my spiritual practice, however way that takes form. I don't have a specific thing I do necessarily, but I'll read a lot more spiritual books by like Eckhart Tolle, Adashanti, people like that, you know, and I really, or even Yogananda as of late. And I really try to like wire into my brain that like God has my back. I don't have to worry. I don't have to control. I don't have to force. If I genuinely feel it's good just to kind of be in this void, then I can relax and be safe. And I can usually I usually have a closer connection with the divine during these times because I have like nothing else to do with my time. And it just seems like faith is something I have to kind of work at. But then it's nice because I get to like deepen that faith, and that will benefit me as the tides turn, which they will. And finally, there's an awareness of power versus force. Even with what I said, even with what I said about myself, during these times, I still will compulsively force things. And it's always blatantly obvious that it's a complete waste of time, honestly. In fact, I did this with my situation, you know. We hit my friend, my business partner and I, we had a really hard time in our business, and then, you know, a huge part of our like financial income was sort of like cut dramatically. And we sensed all of this. Just as I'm saying to you, I sensed this is exactly what's happening. There's a recalibration. We made a big shift. It's time for a grander expression, a full-time purpose, our business. But nonetheless, both of us, guilty. Initially, we're like, what are they going to do? And we forced a couple of things that they didn't stick. They required a lot of time and energy and force, and it didn't go anywhere. And we did it out of like desperation. And then looking back, we see we didn't have to do any of that because now things are moving, expanding. And you'll find that this next chapter of your life is going to unfold not through like effort, but through alignment, through timing. We don't have to muscle our way through life the way we once did, because we're all, if you're watching this video especially, becoming increasingly more and more and more and more aligned with our power. Where we can walk softly, but with a big old stick. Not that you're going to hit people, but you walk softly, calmly, confidently, you know, with a regulated nervous system, which means when it's time to do and go and work, you do it, and you're refreshed as you do it, and you know where you're going, and you're clear on the outcome, and it's efficient. And then when it's time to cease effort, you settle back in. Not relying on the sense of doingness to feel safe, but just at peace. This is the ideal I'm striving for. I'm not there yet, folks. This is my goal. This is what seems to be the opportunity to master this dance, this sort of like knowing what to do in each and every moment and not expending unnecessary energy, allowing for everything we do to have like potency, have intention, our full effort, and then we get to create a lot more, a lot faster with a heck of a lot less because it's aligned. So this is kind of what you're moving into, my friend. But regardless, if you try to do all the things you once did, the coping mechanisms, the things that you used to do to feel joy, forcing yourself out when you don't feel like being social, forcing things to feel safe, none of it's going to work. You're going to find yourself busy and frustrated. And the whole name of the game here that I speak of here, the dip or the reset after the big shift, it's a reset. Take the vacation. It ain't going to last, folks. So with that said, thank you all for watching. I hope this video helps you. Have an amazing day. God bless. Peace.